All right, all right. Susan says so. You see where it says recording?
Oh, yes, you're recording me. Okay.
And just so you know, lady, just so you know. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Toddy?
I'm good. Thank you for coming on the channel. There's a lot of people that are looking forward to this video because I talked about it on the last video I did on this channel where I talked about the Epstein files. And the person that I was talking to had made a comment about, Trump. And I said, I'm actually going to be doing an interview with somebody who's a Trump supporter. And they were kind of surprised with that. And I explained how you and I kind of met and how we had a project to do one night. And there was a lot of dead air on the phone. And so we filled it with conversation and we ended up laughing a lot. And
Yeah, we did.
right, so there was we found a commonality, right? Even though you're a Trump supporter and I'm not a Trump supporter. So I thought maybe if we could have a conversation and show people, just as people, I don't know all the policies, so I just want to be clear about that. I just am somebody who is in this country. I am just second generation United States. My grandfather came over on my dad's dad came over and then my dad was born here. So my grandfather came from Hungary and then my dad was born here, so I'm second generation. And then on the other side of the family, I'm third generation. So you know uh it wasn't that long that I know that, the roots to the United States are just they're just not as deep as other people. So how long has your family been over here?
Oh, Lord, honey. We did, my sister and I did the DNA test and the ancestry thing
Yep.
not this Christmas, but last Christmas. We gifted to each other and we did those. And we got family going back to before the Americans started. I joke about it. Before they had that little tea party up north and Americans started drinking coffee after that.
Right, 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 right,
So
right,
we've been here for a long time
right.
on
So I
both
can
on
appreciate
both sides.
that. One of my best friends who's no longer with us, she came over like, yeah, one of the first people to settle over here. So I don't know if I obviously when I speak of um people coming over and being able to stay in this country, and so I'm obviously thinking of what happened in 1945 when people weren't able to come and seek you know, safety and be able to go. And there's a lot of persecution in this country, whether it be persecution for religion or persecution for identity or whatever it is. And, this country is made up of a bunch of different colors and a bunch of different cultures. And I remember it always looking different when I was in school and we'd say the Pledge of Allegiance, and you'd have your hand on your heart and you look around and you'd see people just of all different shades and everybody kind of had something. And then you'd look at because I remember, in 1969, the Vietnam War. So I'd see a lot of Vietnamese people on television and I'd say they all look so much alike. And then I'd watch something from National Geographic and look over in Africa and say they all look so much alike. And I'd look at our country and I'd say, this is our country and we all look different. And now, it's almost like there's a problem with that. And what do you say about that?
Well, my my thing is just like you were saying, if you look around when you're in school or whatever, and I say this as a person coming from Hiwassee, Georgia. I was 6 years old when I was moved to Gainesville, and I came from a town that was all white. I had
Gainesville,
never,
Florida? Gainesville, Florida or Gainesville, Georgia?
no, Gainesville, Georgia.
Okay, okay.
I,
Go ahead.
And I was born in Hiawassee, and I had lived up in Hiawassee, Georgia, up in the mountains. And I honestly did not know till just recently that I was a hillbilly. But anyway, um, I, I came from a town that was all white. I had never seen black people. And then when Diddy moved us down to Gainesville, Georgia, I was thrust into a school that had black people. So
Okay.
it was like major for me, it was major cultural shock. But
And what
I'm
was the
trying,
climate then? What was the climate towards black
we
people then?
were we were just out of just had we're looking at what 1972, 1973. So desegregation had just been fully completed, I would say.
Okay.
But at that point in time, there was a black side of town and there was a white side of town.
Okay.
And nobody crossed to the other, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But as far as I know, it was by choice. I don't know. Well, when I was 16, the KKK was still doing their rallies in town. It was less frequent, but it was still there.
Right.
But as far as like looking, you said you looked around at school and everybody looked different. I, I think just seeing black people was different enough for me because I'd never seen them. But looking back, I don't think we had anything back then except for any races except for black and white. But I know, now you look around and there's a little bit of this, there's a little bit of that. And I told you that my children are Asian. I had
Mhm.
married a Vietnamese man, and I there's a lot of different cultures, but I think if you're in this country, what I have a problem with is if you come here and you want the benefits of the American country, then you need to be American. I have a big problem with people waving flags that don't belong to this country.
So what do you mean by wave? You mean like somebody living in a different part of the country and might wave one of their country's flags?
I mean, people doing protest against our government and waving Mexican flags or waving whatever. If you're so proud of that flag, honey, then go back. Go back where that flag is from. Because if you're here in America, you should be supporting America. And that's my view. And I'm real hardcore on that.
Okay, so and I agree with that to a point, except what if they just don't agree with put the flag aside, but what if they just don't agree with the policy at hand?
Well, that's fine. Then you more than right to get your little permit, which is my understanding, unless the laws have changed. These people out here protesting are supposed to have permits.
Mhm.
And a lot of them don't. They just like post up and start protesting. But there's nothing wrong with everybody has an opinion, and there's nothing wrong with voicing your opinion. But when you start waving flags from other countries to push your opinion, then that's where I start having a problem. But if you have a problem with policy, what we're talking about here, immigration. If you have a issue with the immigration policy in the United States, first of all, standing out on the street corner in the freezing weather is not really going to accomplish a lot. It's just causing problems. But if you really have a problem with the law, then you need to be contacting the lawmakers, whoever is voted into office in your district, and say, look, I don't agree with this, and I think these laws need to be changed. It's just the way that they're going about it. It's just, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with people having opinions. We all have opinions.
Okay, so this to me, and so and it's fine. So, why do you support Trump then? Let me ask you, what is it that you support him about, and do you call yourself a Trump supporter, or is it Trump that you voted for? because there's a difference there. And being a Republican is different than being a Trump supporter. So I guess the question is, are you a Trump supporter? If so, why are you a Trump supporter?
Well, I am a Republican. I am MAGA, and I'm definitely a Trump supporter. I voted for the man 3 times, and if God be willing, which I don't think he's going to be, he'll be too old, but given the opportunity, I would vote for him again. Um, why do I support Trump? Well, to explain to you why I support Trump is because I support what the foundations, the policies, the stuff that he ran for. He promised us that he would close the border, that he would get all of these people that are in this country sucking our system dry. That he would get all of the illegals out. And people get upset and they're, oh, you're just a racist and you want all the Mexicans gone. When I say illegals, look back at some of those videos. A lot of the YouTubers did. They went down to the border when when Biden and Harris had the open border, and they were videoing and trying to interview these people as they were coming through. Honey, it's not just Mexicans. We've got people here that are terrorists, that are on terrorist watch list. There's a lot of people in this country that have no business being here. And had they gone through the proper process, the immigration process, they would have never got across the border. And I agree with Trump on that, they all need to be rounded up and they need to be sent back where they come from. My daughter, I've told you, she lives up in Colorado. And when I was hearing the news about this, I can't even remember what country the gang was from, Trinidad or something, had taken over an entire apartment complex, like the next city where my daughter lives, which she lives in a subdivision, but even still, I was very concerned.
I understand. I would be concerned too.
But when I say illegals, I just want to stress that I'm not just saying the Mexicans. I'm saying anybody that is in this country. I don't care if you're from Mexico, if you're from China, if you're from Africa, Algeria, the Middle East, I don't care. But if you're not here legally, you have no business being here. And Trump is for that, and that is the main reason that I voted for the man.
So my issue with this, here's my problem with it. The true Americans were the Native Americans. Everybody else got here. It's just a matter of when they got here. So I understand that my family got here well after your family, and that your family was part of the people voting on the laws and the constitutions and the ideas of the people that were in office at that time, because your family was here then, right? So my family came well after that, we'll say.
But
right?
the big difference in that, Toddy, is you are considered an immigrant. Okay. My people were not immigrants. My people were settlers.
That's an argument. That's a decent argument. That is absolutely a decent argument. I think that basically, with you putting it as clearly, that's pretty much defines what I said. I mean, what I said is that. Would you not say that? Part of putting the laws and the bills together and the Constitution and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Your family,
but a common theme of people that are against ICE, they're against getting the illegals out. People say, "Well, we're this is a country built of immigrants." No, it's not. This is a country that was settled. There was nothing here. The European.
That's not true. I don't think that that's true. There was a civilization here. whether
Well, I mean
people want to,
a modern
whether, okay,
civilization.
so okay, that goes kind of like, and I don't want to throw the Whitakers in here, but that's kind of like opinion, because I'm sure to the Native Americans, they were right where they wanted to be and fine.
Oh yeah,
You know what
and
I'm saying?
I do not agree with what happened to the Native Americans, but I can't undo it. Um, but having said that, the Europeans came here. I mean, like I have family that's from Scotland, from England, from my mountain heritage folks came from Scotland and Holland, of all places.
No, I
But
know, especially in the Appalachian region, a lot of that is
in
Scottish descent.
Germany, yeah,
A lot of it is Scottish descent. So
yeah,
yeah, I get that.
that's where all that good moonshine comes from. But
So go
yeah,
ahead.
I I told you I had been married to a Vietnamese man. Well,
Right,
of course, our marriage ended, and he went back to Vietnam, and I just share this story with you to tell you um, how people come and they come legally. Okay, he went
right.
back to Vietnam and he married a girl. It took 5 years. And at this point in time, he was a naturalized citizen. Okay.
Right.
5 years it took before she was allowed to come over here. And people do it and they do it right. Um, I don't think that just jumping the border and coming in and reaping the benefits, um, which I don't know.
How
I
now?
have
So let me go ahead.
I have issues with anybody living off of the system unless you are mentally, physically, or elderly. Unless there is a legitimate reason why you can't support your own family, I have a problem with that. And I think the government is somewhat at fault because they allow these people, and I know people are going to say, well, they can't get benefits. They can't get on welfare if they're illegal. No, and they're not supposed to be voting either. But we all know. And if you don't know, then you just don't know. But it's going on. And I think at that point, the government is at fault because if they would quit giving away all this free stuff, then the enticement for these people wouldn't be as great for them to come here.
Okay, so there's parts of that I could reach you on and say, yeah, but I'm one of those people that say, well, how are they getting any benefits if they're illegal? And so I hear, well, they're going and living with a cousin that's getting benefits that's not illegal. Okay, so I get that. I get that. But I don't have a problem with people coming over here the right way. I
No,
have there's
nor do
okay,
I. Nor do I.
right. Okay, but here's the problem that I have. I have a problem with people being rounded up like they are being rounded up. I have a problem because there is in fact people being rounded up because of racial profiling. And there's people that I know for a fact that have been in these camps, these modern day concentration camps, and they had no reason being in there because they just didn't have the paperwork on them. And then they're not on them person. And then they didn't have there's no priority in trying to undo what was done on the streets. So there has to be a better way of making sure people are in the country. And I also have a problem going back generations and punishing the people that had nothing at all to do with it. If they're here and they're working and they're paying, give them a grace period to become citizens. If their behavior is good, because I got news for you, and I think you'd agree with me. There are plenty of American citizens that shouldn't be in this country because they're fucking dangerous and have no business breathing the air in which people breathe that are good people. So it's not just people that are illegal refugees or you know a refugee and people that are here or try to come here for political asylum. There has to be something that is different between just letting people in and saying welcome, and then having um, what's going on. There's got to be some sort of middle, because there could be a benefit on both ends here and both sides here. But to see some of these children that are taken, and children that are taken in front of their families, and never ever ever getting that vision or that movie that they see live with their parents being taken from them and them being taken from their parents, like, you can't fix that. Like, there's nothing that can be done to fix that
But
killed kids.
who is ultimately responsible for that? In my opinion, it's the parents. When Trump came into office, you said something just a minute ago about having a grace period, about letting people get get what they need if they've been here. He gave, when he came into office, he offered to pay for people to self-deport. And the people that are now being rounded up chose not to take advantage of that. And right now, instead of packing up and going back because they know they're illegal, they know they shouldn't be here, they choose to hide out and they think they're going to wait it out. Honey, Trump's got 3 more years. This is not going to stop. And I have many family members and many friends who are not as vocal as I am. They're kind of these people that sit back and they're like, yeah, get them out of here. We don't want them. Get them out. Get them out. But they would never say it publicly. So there's a lot more people that are for this that don't speak out about it. The town that I'm from ICE is putting up a detention center there. And some of the people are like going crazy over it. But when they did their little protest, I keep up with the newspaper and stuff down there. And there was 100 people out at the protest. We're talking a huge, huge city, okay?
Right.
Yeah. There not as many people supporting the movement of trying to keep ICE out as they think that they are.
Well, I think that, in all fairness, there's been people shot by ICE. So, I mean, there's probably people that are afraid. And we shouldn't be afraid of people that are supposedly there to protect us. We shouldn't be afraid of them.
No, and we shouldn't try to run over people with cars, and we should not take guns to protest.
Well, I mean, I know who you're talking about, and we both saw the same video, I'm sure. And I don't want to argue because apparently you saw one thing one way, and I saw you're talking about good, right? And you think you think you saw her try to run somebody over. I think I saw her try to let a car go through, and her try to go through. Her wheels were pointed in a different direction. And as far as Peretti, he had conceal and carry, and he was allowed to have that. He never took that out. I saw the cop actually reach for his gun. He didn't have anything in his hand except the camera, and he turned to go protect the lady. That's what I saw. So I mean, for us to argue about something that we both saw and obviously saw it differently, right? Because that's
I dug around and I found every video of every angle of both situations before I made my decision. And there were a lot of different cameras shooting that from a lot of different angles. And I went back and looked at, okay, what kind of person is this before I made my decision? And there's videos out there that I'm sure you've probably seen too, that show a different side of folks when they weren't as peaceful.
Yeah, but I
But
think that
no,
could be.
we
Yeah.
should not ever be afraid to have an opinion or to speak. But we also should not. Now I have to tell you, and I got in a big argument with a friend of mine over this. We do not have the right, even though we have a right to an opinion, we do not have the right to interfere with law enforcement. And that's what I was saying. That is the things that are being done is not the correct way to do it. You get the policy changed. Go get the laws changed. Don't attack people that are doing their job.
Well, let me ask you this. How would that have worked for the in 1945, World War II, with the Jews and the Germans? Should they have waited on policy? Because you can't, that doesn't work either. They tried. I mean, that's how the ghettos started. Like, it was the Jewish people that slowly, they listened to all this. They listened to go to the ghettos. Nothing's going to happen. We just kind of want to put you in your place. And then, no, we're going to work you a little bit. And then, no, we're just going to put you in ovens. I mean, so we have to learn by the past, otherwise we are damned, and we will uh be stupid enough to repeat it. So just because people hire or people carry these badges, and I mean, the truth of the matter is, some of these ICE agents, they're not qualified to carry guns. They're just not. And if, you can look into that, and that's the truth. And you can look into that in any job. There's doctors shouldn't be qualified to be doctors. There's nurses shouldn't be qualified. We know this in every single field. Okay, but that's a huge field to not do
You're
complete, wait a minute, let me finish, to not do complete background checks on people, and to have gaps in the system that people fall through, and wear these uniforms, and are able to cover their faces. That is, I don't think that because they hide under the guise of good people and authoritarians, that we just watch as everything is taken away from us. I don't think that's the answer.
but I don't see if I'm hearing you correctly, you're comparing the current situation with ICE removing illegals from this country who shouldn't be here. They have no legal right to be here. You're comparing that to the atrocities that Hitler did with the Jews.
Well, okay. So I'm saying that the look of it, that we have to question it. No, I'm not comparing, because I understand you're saying, well, these people are illegal, they shouldn't be in here. Okay, look, I'm saying, look at what's going on in the streets. Just look at that. That's the comparison. That comparison. Okay? I'm not saying that it's exactly the same. I'm saying by looking at it. And I'm sure, listen, I'm sure that the people that are held, and again, there are people held, Susan. I'm sorry, there's accidents, there's mistakes that happen. I 100% know for a fact there are people held, and there are people being profiled because of the color of their skin, or because they have an accent. There has to be a better way than what's going on the streets. So to those people, that are accidentally getting pulled up, like the woman that had the brain injury, the woman that just couldn't respond fast enough, the woman that was going to Walmart, who just had an accent, and I mean, that was a woman. Why are 4 officers men? Where are you from? What country are you from? Why isn't it? First of all, go to the places that these people are. And then, if this is the way, and I don't agree with going and going into parking lots, or going to stores in that. I mean, if that's where the people work, okay, but there's people that are going in as shoppers, and they don't have paperwork on them because they're going in as shoppers, and they live there. They live in the country, but they don't. That's the least that they expect. And one woman by four men that are masked. There's got to be a better way. That to them, yeah, that's scary to them. I don't know what that would be reminiscent to a younger person, but that's pretty scary. Why four men going after one woman who's just got out of her car to go to Walmart, you know?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that particular situation. But a big issue with this is because we have so many sanctuary cities, and the cities are the towns are not, they're going against ICE. They're not cooperating. Like when they have criminals in jail that they know are illegal, instead of calling ICE and saying, okay, they're here, we're going to hold them till you come pick them up, they're intentionally turning them loose. First of all, what kind of respect do you have for the community that you're serving that you're going to turn a criminal out on the street just so ICE can't come get them?
Well, I don't agree with that, but I guess where you and I again would butt heads is, what are we calling them a criminal about? Are we calling them a criminal about being illegal aliens, illegal immigrants? I'm sorry, illegal immigrants, or have they actually committed crime? So, I mean, illegal immigrants, to me, um, I would have compassion. I would have compassion. I would have grace. Somebody that committed a crime that would be dangerous. I don't give a fuck where they're coming from. Yeah, I'm calling the cops and I'm set. Yeah, they're going. They're bye. See you later.
Those are the ones that the police have picked up, be it aggravated assault, be it murder, be it DUI with vehicular, where they've hurt somebody. They are turning them loose just to keep. I'm not talking about just because they're illegal, but that is a crime. If you're here in this country and you've overstayed your visa or whatever, that is a crime. But I'm not talking about those type of illegals. I'm talking about the ones that have been arrested for committing whatever.
Absolutely. Then absolutely they should be deported. I mean, I have no problem with that. Absolutely they should be deported. Excuse
But
me.
the
And it would be up to the family to follow or not follow.
but the sanctuary cities are protecting those people, and the police are going against the federal government, and instead of like saying, okay, we got them, come on, we're going to hold them here till you come on pick them up. No, they just turn them loose to keep ICE from getting them. And to me, that's not only disrespectful to the federal government, but it's also a disrespect to the community that police department is there to serve, because they're willing to just to go against Trump, go against ICE. They're willing to put dangerous people back out on the streets in their communities.
No, I don't. I'm not. Obviously, I'm not for that. I'm not for that. I think that there is a better way to, um, to to um, to handle this situation, but I also think that, um, this country, you know, I don't think it should take 5 years when it comes to things like political asylum or people's lives are in danger and stuff like that. I don't think that we should have open borders per se at all, because we do need to know who's in this country. And one of the main reasons is because we have a craziness about guns in this country, and we should know who everybody is in this country, because I think it's a dangerous country as it is. So I think that you and I kind of, um, I think that we're gonna agree as much as we're gonna agree on that. Let me ask you this: as far do you, what do you say when I say to you, Susan says so? I'm getting really pissed because I can't even afford to live here. What happened to the middle class of this country? What do you say to that?
Well, honey, I can't answer that because I don't know myself. I mean, I really don't, but I don't think that Trump is responsible for that.
Who
Um,
would be responsible for our economy? I mean, who's like the prices go up during somebody's during their time who in office, who would be responsible for that?
well, I know some things have gone up since, well, gas has definitely come down, but some things have gone up since Trump took into office because he placed the tariffs. But if you look at the wide range span of things, everything didn't just, the minute he became president, you can't hold him accountable for the price of everything. A lot of this stuff is like a gradual, it's come on through a time period, and you can't really put that on just one person.
Well, I do have to say that in the past year since he's been in office, that alone, I can honestly say that things have increased an awful lot, especially on paper goods and stuff. Why the tariffs? Because the tariffs, and here's stuff that listen, I don't know much about, and if you don't know much about it, that's fine too. But the tariffs aren't made to hurt anybody but us. When they put a 3% tariff, the companies come and they add 3 or 4% to cover that tariff, and we, the customer, pay more to the people that it's us that's paying for these tariffs. It's nobody else is losing anything except the consumer. So
Well,
what do you say about that?
when he got ready to put those tariffs in place, he said, and he said it up front, if you go back and listen to the speech, this is going to hurt for a little while. The objective of the tariffs is simply this. Now, this I am familiar with. Okay, say like we get a lot of cars, and I'm a Honda driver. I always have had a Honda. I prefer cars made in different countries because it's my belief that American car companies just went to hell in a handbasket and they fall to pieces. But that's my opinion.
Right.
But on the other, okay, say Japan or wherever we're getting these cars from, China, Japan. So all these cars are coming into the United States. People are buying these cars. They're not buying American products. Okay. And to me, I see that as, well, that's your own fault because you were making shitty products and people don't want to buy them. But on the flip side of that, okay, we're letting everything come in, and I'm just going to say China, for example, okay? We're letting all this stuff come in from China, and it's flooding the consumer market. We're not putting any tariff on China, right? They're just at free, and I'm just using them as an example. But they're at free. They have free will to just bring whatever they want over here and sell it, okay? And they don't have to pay the government no kind of tariff, nothing, okay? And then if you look at the other hand of that, America, say there's a product that we have that the Chinese consumer wants, but the Chinese government does not want our products in their country, so they put a huge tariff so that it's not a fair exchange. Just like you're saying, the consumer ends up paying the price for that tariff.
Right.
Ultimately, you're going to say, well, I'm just not willing to pay $3 more for this because, it's coming in from China and it's just, I got to find an alternative. The other countries have been doing that to us forever. Even like the UK, which is supposed to be our special friend because they're technically our cousins, they have been putting tariffs on our products coming into the UK while we weren't putting anything on them. And all Trump has done is trying to level out the playing field. If you give us a tariff, we're going to give you a tariff back. If we're going to
Yeah,
have
but what is it? But what
a
is
free
it that?
commerce,
What is it that?
ultimately, the ultimate goal is for them to not tariff our stuff.
But what is it that? What is it that we have that they want? You know what I'm saying? What is it that we are making that they want?
Now that I can't answer you, but whatever it is, whatever products that we're trying to sell to these other countries, they are putting such high tariffs. And I don't have my tablet open where I'd look it up for you. Whatever products it is, uh, Canada, the UK, China, um, where's somewhere else?
Well, I
That
mean, but here's the point. Here's what I want to say. So when we talk about iPhones, so iPhones, that was Steve Jobs. That's an American product. The problem with that is it's not made in America, right? It's made in China because that's the cheapest place to have it done. So American companies aren't making products in America. They're making them in China. Levi Strauss, right? San Francisco company. Not the same Levi Strauss. Of course it is, though. When you and I were younger, and we had the Levi's corduroys in all different colors, right? But now those Levi Strauss companies, you look at them and where are they made? And they're made in China, or they're made in these countries. I'm using China as an example as well. So again, what I'm saying is everything that we basically have made, unless you're going to look at the infomercials where then, okay, we have things made here, which does not level out the playing field at all. That's
um,
the huge
it's
question,
funny that you mentioned.
especially when you yourself and I'm not sure that I agree with you, but you yourself have said, yeah, and American cars are basically shit. Well, listen, Nissans are basically shit. I got news for you. And they used to be Datsun. Datsun used to be a good car, right? But Nissan, yeah, they're shit, in my opinion. However, uh, I've always had luck with Fords, if I'm honest with you. But um, I just feel like that there's no level playing field because everything, even that American companies have, the product is made in a different country. So therefore, that tariff doesn't help us; it hurts us, and I don't
But
see where that
all
is.
the countries, all they have to do, if they don't want a tariff on their
Yeah, but the
incoming
tariff,
products,
yeah, but it's
is
we don't.
don't tariff the United States.
Again, I don't think that it hurts them at all because there's not much that they're buying from us, and
Then why
that
do they
we're
have
still
such
gonna
high
want the
tariffs
iPhone,
on us?
and we're gonna still want the iPhones. We're gonna still want the iPhones. What's that?
Well, maybe it's going to come down to the point that um, because people are not going to buy American, obviously by choice, and companies are not going to come and produce their products in America because they're not going to get the slave labor that they get in China, that they get in Vietnam. A lot of stuff is coming in from Vietnam now. Companies are
Right,
going there.
right. Yep. So again, we were just talking about um we used China as an example, but if the tariffs are coming in, they're coming in from all countries, right? He's not being specific to um a certain country, or is he? I'm asking because I don't know.
He, like with the UK, who we had never had tariffs, never tariffed anything that they wanted to sell here,
Right.
but they have always had tariffs on us. And what Trump did is he said, "Look, here's the deal. If you're going to put a tariff on us bringing products to your country, we are going to give you the same tariff." And to me, that's only fair. I think that to have a free economy and a free world exchange, nobody should be putting tariffs on anybody. It's my opinion. I think we should be able to buy what we want from wherever we want to buy it from. But I can see his point because they're limiting, and I don't have my vocabulary my brain, I feel like I've got brain fog. It's not a fair exchange is what's happening. And he's just simply trying to level the playing field. A lot of people, when he put those tariffs up, a lot of those countries either took their tariffs against us down or they decreased them greatly. I don't know if you kept up with that, but Trump is a deal maker. It's what he does. He knows what he's doing. He's doing a strategy. And I don't think one thing I can say about President Trump, and I can't say this about any other of the presidents. Trump loves America and he wants America to be successful. He wants us to be the great country that we used to be. And I mean, you got to admit it, Toddy, we're not. And other countries have not respected us for ages.
Well, when do you think that, okay, so when do you think that America was great? During which time, which era, which president, or which time frame?
Well, I think the greatest generation definitely was my grandfather's generation, and he fought World War II. He was in North Africa and Germany. I think that is when our country was at its peak. When we were strong enough and wealthy enough that we could defend other countries. But I can't really say when it went down, when it got so bad as it is now. But we are just, I mean, they laugh at us. Other countries literally laugh at us. They think we're a big joke.
I got to be honest with you. I know you're not going to like my answer, but a lot of people are laughing at the president. I mean, that's just true. So you think during the time that Truman was in office that you feel like that was when America was great?
Was Truman president during World War II? I don't even remember who was Eisenhower, Truman.
He was president. He he was president after Franklin Roosevelt, and he assumed office on the 12th of April, I think, in 1945. So that's like World War II, right?
Yeah, because Roosevelt was in office during World War II because he went and met with Churchill.
Yeah, from 1908. He was the 32nd president, Roosevelt, and he served until 1945. He was the longest serving United States president and the only one to have served more than 2 terms. So he served more than 2 terms. I didn't know that. Did you?
I'm sure I did. I'm just sitting here.
I'm surprised
that my history teacher doesn't hear this because she's probably just spitting nails. Because I was a avid student in history. I used to tell you every president from beginning to end. One of my favorite subjects. But why does it say why did he serve more than 2 terms? Was it because we were in war or?
Let me see. Hang on. Well, I'll ask. How did he serve more than 2 terms? Did serve more? Well, he served 4 terms. Franklin Delano Roosevelt served 4 terms because there were no constitutional term limits at the time.
Oh, okay. So he
ran for re-election during the crises of the Great Depression and World War II, elected in 1932, 1936, 1940, and 1944. So he served consecutively. He broke the 2-term tradition established by George Washington. There was a tradition, but apparently there was there wasn't a term limit per se.
Okay. See, I didn't even remember that. So he served because people kept voting him back in.
Yeah, he won consecutively. It looks like for sure. But there's a two term now. There's a limit. There's a two term. What do you say about that when Trump thinks about or he talks about removing that? What do
Well,
you think about
I
him
don't.
having a third term?
If Trump was a younger man, I would say yes, but I don't think at his age, I don't think he has any business being in office for a third term. Not at the age he is.
Right.
Um, I think that it was done to keep. I think the term limit thing was put in place because it just gives somebody too much power for too long. Um, so I definitely agree that term limits, but he's not going to change it. He just says that. He jokes about that because he knows it pisses people off.
Do you is that do you like that quality in our president?
Well, I tell you what I like, Toddy. We went through so many years of everybody had to be politically correct, and you or you got canceled, or like they're doing in the UK now. I mean, people are going to getting put in jail for having an opinion, for saying something if it offends somebody else. I think that's ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. Do When Trump first started coming out with stuff, I thought, oh my God, I mean, how unprofessional. It's what I thought to start with. And then I thought about it and I said, well, Granny used to tell me, she said, Susan, honey, because we would get talking about, sinning and stuff like that. And she said, honey, I've got news for you. She said, if you're thinking it, it's just a sin as it is if you spit it out of your mouth. She said, if you're thinking it, in her mind, it was the same thing as saying it.
Right.
But actually having somebody that is as honest and will say whatever he's thinking, like last year at the State of the Union, not this one, but last year, he called that woman Pocahontas, and I like to have cracked up. I didn't know the story. I didn't understand why he was calling this white woman Pocahontas. So I went back and looked it up. It's because she lied. She went for years telling people she was a Native American. Is it professional? No, it's not professional.
So let me ask you this. How would you have felt if she was legitimately a Native American?
He would have never said it.
But we've watched him mock people with cerebral palsy. Like, what do you say about that? That's not nice. That's not
I've not
presidential.
seen that. I've not seen that.
Well, he has. I have seen
I
that.
have to take your word for that because I haven't seen it.
So let me ask you, I mean, is it fair to say that we should expect more from our president than we should from any other American citizen? Like, isn't he the guy that, regardless of who it is that holds that office, shouldn't they be setting the bar for leadership and role model than anybody else?
If you're looking at a politician, then yes, of course we're going to expect that. But what people keep forgetting, Trump is not a politician. Trump is a businessman. And a politician is going to tell you whatever you want to hear to get your vote.
I
Do
understand what
they
you're saying.
need to
I do.
be? Do they need to be living an upstanding life? Yes. Um, should he cater his speech to keep from offending anybody? No. He has a right to say whatever he's thinking just as much as you or I do.
Okay, so let me. I get that, and let me tell you something. That's a valid point. So that a couple valid points that I'm getting, and it's very important that I think people get. So you're saying, Toddy, he's not approaching this as a politician, even though He is the president of the United States, which is a political role. He is a businessman, and he is approaching things as a businessman. That's the way he thinks. That's where his mindset is. Okay. And I have to say, honestly, I never thought about that before. I still think, as the president, you could have made some efforts in being more presidential. So let me ask you this. What do you say when we watched Billy Bush on that bus with Trump? He was not president at the time. He wasn't even, this was during the first election. And we hear him, and he's talking inappropriately about grabbing women. And he does. He doesn't realize that there's a live mic on. And Billy Bush, who's not expecting this, and he's just in the bus with this guy, he starts laughing. And to me, I heard nervous laughter, right? Because what do you say, man? You're not even talking about grabbing women. But here he is, a guy who's running for office, a powerful man, if you will, right? Trump. And Billy Bush gets fired. Trump gets elected office. What's your feeling about that? I mean, he gets elected president of the United States. Billy Bush, who just nervous laughter because he doesn't know what to say. Well, I mean, like, what do you say about that? Do you
I don't know who Billy Bush is.
Billy Bush is he used to do like Entertainment Tonight and stuff. He was a newscaster. He was the one that was
so he was like a media person. Was he there like interviewing Trump or something?
Yes. And he's the one there's that famous or infamous, we should say, interview where Trump says, "No, man, you just go in there and you can grab them by the pussies." That's exactly what Trump says. You hear it on the mic.
What was he making reference to? Go into where and grab them?
I think he was talking about the Miss America contest stuff. He thought the mic was off. So
the media guy gets fired because he laughed.
Yeah.
Well, that's stupidity. That's part of the woke culture, though. That's what I'm saying. Anything that somebody says, they're not allowed to have an opinion or they get canceled.
Well, if Trump got elected after that, and Billy Bush got fired after that.
Well, Billy Bush should never been fired for laughing at something. If you think something's funny, you've got a right to laugh, whether other people think it's funny or offensive or not. But if Trump said that, and I'm going to have to go find this and listen to it because I haven't heard it. I've heard something about the grabbing them in the crotch, but I wasn't sure what it was making reference to. If Trump said that, my opinion of that, it's a typical man. It's just like when somebody tells me that men don't cheat, I'm like, show me one that doesn't. Because I've never met a man, I don't care how good his marriage is, they cheat. They are not programmed to be monogamous. They cheat. They all cheat. But if he said that, that's just typical man. So they talk like that.
So what? Now let me ask you this, and then it's an hour that we've done this, and this is great. Now you say that you voted for Trump, or you say that Trump is a businessman. How do you? He has filed bankruptcy, and you can look this up. He has filed bankruptcy several times. When I say several times, I mean several times. I mean 6 times. So how is that? How is that a good businessman?
I know a lot of people that have filed bankruptcy several times. They do it
to not pay what they owe. When people file bankruptcy, we know that they do it to not pay what they owe.
But there's 2 different types of bankruptcy. There's one where you consolidate everything that you owe and you pay it off in payments. And then there's another kind that you just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And within so many years, your credit like resets and you start over.
7 years or 11 years. Yep.
Um, well, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I seriously doubt that he did it. He didn't do it because he was failing at business. I'm sure there was some strategy behind that.
Well, what do you
So
say about that? What do you say? Okay, so if he wasn't failing at business and there was just a strategy behind it, what do you say about him as opposed to people that go on welfare and just lose their job because of a paycheck or something like that? Why is that okay when you take all that money and it's not just it's just a way to get out of paying for something? And like, what's the difference between that? I mean, that's a crook uh, just because it's a legal crook, it's still a crook. Look at all that money that somebody's not paying back, and they've done it a few times. You could look it up seriously. He's done it under different LLCs and such like that, but he's the businessman. So, like,
well, I'm not, I can honestly tell you, this is the first I've heard of this. And I find it difficult to sit here and defend him or justify, even try to justify because I'm not familiar with it.
that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
So I would feel more comfortable having opportunity to look this up and look into it some because I'm honestly telling you I was not aware of this.
Okay, well that's fine, and that's fine. Well, I enjoyed this, and I think that it's because we did a video together, right? And it was like almost 2 hours. We did a video, and in the first 10 minutes, you said something about the fact that you supported Trump, and you saw on the comments where people were like, "Oh, I lost, forget it, I shut her
I
off as
lost
soon as
it,
she did
Trump.
that."
Yeah.
And then there was a person that said, "Well, she got me there," and I thought I wrote back to the people in the comments, that's shitty because that was the first 10 minutes. It's a 2 hour video. How do we sit in the same room with people that support Trump? We have to be able to at least have a conversation, right? Otherwise, I mean, without a conversation, there's no hope for any of us to bridge this division, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree with that for sure, right?
For sure.
Right. And there were things that you and I genuinely laughed and such about. I don't think that people should be defined by just one person. And I know that he is such, I mean, in my opinion, a horrible person. And you don't see him as that. And I mean, I don't feel like I can throw away everybody that doesn't see this person the same way I see him. I don't think we should. We need to realize there are people in the world that see things that will always be different than the way we see them. How do we coexist among these people, and how do they coexist among us? And that's the thing that I feel like we need to learn how to do.
Well, I told you about my friends, my best friend that I've been friends with since high school. He's gay and he's been with the same partner for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're MAGA. So um, it's not a heterosexual only that support Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And something too, I wanted to just kind of throw in there. When I was growing up, I grew up in a Democratic household.
Okay.
And I never understood. It was never discussed. I was just told that we are the poor people and we always vote Democrat. That was just like, it was hardcore in my family. And when I got old enough to vote, first president I voted for was Reagan. And I love President Reagan.
Hmm.
And my daddy went off the chain. He said, young lady, he said, I'm going to tell you, a little girl. He always called me little girl. It's a little girl. He said, I'm going to tell you something. He said, I know you're thinking you're making big money now that you've become a nurse. He said, but I've got news for you. He said, you don't make enough money to be voting Republican. And, and I said, well, Daddy, let me explain something to you. I may not, in your opinion, be making enough money to be voting Republican, but I make enough money that being a Democrat is not helping me. I was always, when you were saying something about middle class, I always considered myself middle class. I made enough money that I never got any assistance of any kind. And
Right.
even like the years that I was a single parent, never got Medicaid for my kids. I never got nothing. But I lived paycheck to paycheck. I
Right.
made too much to get any kind of help, but I certainly wasn't making enough to get rich.
Right.
So in my opinion, that's when I started voting. Well, I continued to vote Republican because I didn't think it was right for these people to be getting my tax money because they chose to be lazy and not go to work. But my daddy now and my stepmother's always been Republican. And, but you know, I'm pretty sure back the first time I ever voted, Gene Simmons was talking about this. I saw him on TV in an interview and somebody asked him who he supported. And he said, why would you ask me that? He said, it's none of your business. He said, you know, there used to be a day when we pull the curtain around us
That's
because
right.
things like that was private.
Right.
And he wouldn't answer them. He told them it was none of their business who he supported.
My mom
Which,
used to. My mom, I asked her once when I was younger who she voted for, and she said, it's none of your business. I looked at her, I thought she was joking. She was like,
and
you
she
should
was
never ask
serious.
anybody that. What's that?
Yeah. Yeah. People used to not discuss that. It was just,
Exactly. That and religion. Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show and breaking the barrier down, and I'm hoping that maybe we could do something once a week where we talk about things maybe in the news and talk about different points of view and how we feel about stuff. And I really enjoyed this, and I think that you know the conversations are important. They're good to have.
Yeah, and it's always good to hear, you know, different opinion because you've taught me something or enlightened me tonight. When I get off with you, now I'm going to have to start looking up things that you've told me tonight that I was not aware of.
Please
So,
do. Please do. Yeah,
and
please do.
then I might have a different answer for you the next time we speak.
Well, cool beans, and find something that we could talk about. And you know what? Like the UFO thing, I'm excited about that. Maybe that could be our next conversation. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited about disclosure. Although I'm kind of decided, Toddy. I think they're trying to distract us.
From the Epstein files?
Yeah, from the Epstein files and from some other stuff that's going on. Was watching Tucker Carlson last night, and Bibi Netanyahu
Right.
he is like twisting Trump's arm. We're about to get pulled into a war in, is it Iraq or Iran? And I have very strong feelings about that. I don't understand it. And that's something I was going to say too when we were talking about Trump. I think people, whether it be Trump, whether it be Biden or Obama or whoever, I think that the American people are under the impression that our president has more power than he has. I don't think that the president is the one really running the United States. There are
Well,
other players.
right. Exactly. No, I think that people know that.
Yeah, there are other players that are actually calling the shots, in my opinion.
Netanyahu, by the way, is Israel. So I don't know what's going on. Is there something going on with Israel again? Or there's
Well,
always, unfortunately, and I'm not blaming Israel. That part of the world has been at war since the beginning of time. The Gaza
honey,
Strip is something that will always be something that I think, how I always say there's a beginning, there's an end. I don't know the end that will ever come to that patch of land there.
well, they're always at war with somebody, and they just keep trying to pull us into it. They want us to fight their wars for them, and I don't agree with that. And I know people are going to start screaming, "She's anti-Semite." No, I'm not. I have nothing, no issues with Jewish people, but that does not require me to support the Jewish government, or that not the Jewish government, the
The
Israeli
Israeli
government.
government, right? Because
Exactly.
clear to say that not everybody in Israel is Jewish.
Exactly.
Right. All
So,
right. Well, I appreciate that. We'll check into that. I will look into that, and I am hopeful that we will do this again.
all right. Well, we'll see how it goes. How your viewers take to me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Susan Says So. I appreciate you. And guys, this is Toddy One Skip, and this is The Argument, and I will see you on the next one.